Hey everybody, Tony here, fresh from watching American Hustle, which was shown at the Cinestar movie theaters at Potsdamer Platz. The film was directed by David O. Russell. It was also written by David O. Russell alongside Eric Warren Singer. And it stars Christian Bale, Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams, Bradley Cooper, Jeremy Renner, and Louis C.K. Now, the film tells the story of two con artists by the name of Irving and Sydney, who basically make their business by conning a lot of people for their money. One day, they get called in by an FBI agent for an elaborate scheme against the mafia, and especially against the mayor of New Jersey. Will they be successful? Will they end up regretting their actions? Or will they face the music no matter what happens? Story-wise, the Bonnie and Clyde duo isn't really anything new to me, but this film actually proves itself to be a lot more than just a crime film or even just your simple Bonnie and Clyde duo story or whatsoever. In fact, I actually came into this movie with very low expectations, but when I saw the film itself, I was definitely blown away. It surprised me, and it definitely kept me entertained, and I could see why it has garnered 10 Oscar nominations. 10. Now, that is pretty much a lot for me, and especially why it's been nominated for 7 Golden Globes. And for me, that's a very astonishing record. And why not? I felt that the story was definitely really engaging and it definitely surprised me. I definitely had a lot of fun watching a lot of the comedic moments, especially when there are times when you can't always stretch the joke, especially if it's like a sex joke or a dirty joke to some people. They really know when to begin and where to end, unlike Wolf of Wall Street, where it has a beginning, no doubt about that. But just when you think it's gonna end, you kind of are thinking, just what? There's more? But with this film, you really get a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's all there is to it. It's pretty much it. And for 2 hours worth of film, I definitely enjoyed it. There were no dull moments, and there were no moments where I felt to myself, oh my god, is this gonna be for real? Is this gonna be a lot longer and boring than it is? Not to say that Wolf of Wall Street was boring, I felt like it was a really good film, but like I said, it didn't know when to end. But with this film, it really knew when to end, which I will not spoil since it's still in theaters. But still, it was very engaging. It was a lot of fun to watch. It never left me bored. And even though the whole Bonnie and Clyde story may seem familiar, it definitely is very refreshing because the thing is, Irving is a married man. Whereas with Sydney, she's the total opposite. She is single. Purely single. Yet their dynamic really works effectively. No matter what they do, whether they're conning people or just having a lot of intimate moments together or whether they're comforting each other, you could really see a lot of dynamic and a lot of chemistry. And that's what I really felt that the strong point of the story really is. Characters, which I'll get to later. Cinematographically speaking, it is very well shot, extremely well shot. What more can you expect from a film that is a contender for 10 nominations in the Oscars? What more can you expect? Every film or every scene was craftfully done, or it was done really, really well. It was done with precision. It was done with style and elegance and a lot of great attention to detail. It was so craftfully done that it was just amazing to watch. It was a visual beauty, one of those visual beauties that I've seen. And believe me, this is coming from someone who's watched a lot of well detailed cinematography. This is what I really have to say is one of the most detailed cinematography I've ever seen. It is so up there with the previous film review that I've mentioned, Winter's Tale. But this is real life crime drama, and it was able to catch the feeling of the 1970s very well, especially from the opening titles. You will feel that you've stepped back from this generation to, well, your parents' generation, like the 1970s. You feel like you're on a time machine, especially from the opening credits, which is like typical 70s style text and 70s style music. You really get the feel that you've stepped back in time, and the film really conveys it really well, all because of great cinematography and very great attention to detail. And it's all handled very, very beautifully, that it is just a feast for my eyes. Now, the characters are definitely very enjoyable and totally endearing. The relationship that Irving and Sydney have is definitely just really believable. I mean, they're more than just like a Bonnie and Clyde duo. They're more than just that. In fact, they have a lot of dynamic together. They have a lot of moments where they are like comforting each other and telling each other how much they love them, and you could really see how much chemistry that they have. I mean, sure, Irving is a married man with a wife and a son, as in a very, very young son, but his relationship with Sydney is definitely that believable that you almost forget that, Irving's married. Why didn't these two end up together in the first place? Why did Irving have to end up being married with Rosalind, and why not with Sydney? But still, their chemistry definitely worked. Okay, and their opposites as well. So Irving, physically speaking, he is so out of shape. He's balding, and he always has to rely on his toupee to make him look better. Because, well, let's face it, he's a man who is currently in his 40s, yet he's balding. And he's out of shape. But the thing that makes him so charming and so likable is his sarcastic and snide remarks, and his sense of wit, and how clever he is as a person, and how determined he can be. Yet at times he can be quite foolhardy. But more than anything, it's his charm, wit, and cleverness that really make this gentleman so endearing and worth rooting for. And Sydney, she's more than just another pretty face. She's more than just a woman who is such a looker. I mean, she is gorgeous, no doubt about that. But she is very crafty as well. I mean, the way she's able to switch from her normal personality to this British aristocrat by the name of Lady Edith Greensley is pretty cool. And the way she uses her British accent is quite believable, but I could still tell she's American. But still, she's a very crafty woman, and she's very cunning, and she's absolutely more than just a pretty face. She's definitely a very cunning person, and she does need a true man in her life. But that's not to say that she's a damsel in distress. She can be so capable of standing on her own 2 feet. She's extremely cunning, and she's definitely another character I was really rooting for to end up together with Irving. And Richie is another character I do like, and I think he's funny and snide and but mostly snide and sarcastic, especially in his scene with um, Sydney in the prison. I definitely felt that he was very snide and sarcastic of how he likes to play with Sydney's minds, and that's what pretty much drives these characters. I mean, you do see that they're con artists, but they kind of con each other in a way. I mean, they convince each other that, oh, they'll be ever faithful, oh, they'll be this and that, but they just kind of trick them. I mean, that's pretty much playing mind games and like a lot of mind games with each other. You really get to see that they're pretty much like playing cat and mouse, which is very exciting for me. And I thought his relationship with Sydney was also pretty cute as well. I mean, sure, it didn't go long term, but it was still fun seeing how they interacted with each other. And he's pretty fun to be with as a person, with his over the top moments, especially when they are about to win, trying to get all of the $2 million from the politicians and everybody that's of an important status. I mean, he is a fun character to watch. At times he can be an ass, but that can be forgiven because he's still pretty much likable. Rosalind, I was quite skeptical about her at first, but as I saw her as a character and as the film progressed, I absolutely loved her even more. I mean, at the beginning of the film, she appears to be quite a bimbo, quite um, airheaded with her Jersey accent. I mean, you really get the feeling that you don't want to see this person, but as the film progresses, you really start to really sympathize with her and what she goes through because I understand what it's like to be called stupid. Because, frankly, with Rosalind, she's more than just some dumb blonde. She's not. She's actually very capable of knowing other people's intentions, and she really cares for her husband and child, even though she knows that her husband might always push her away and push her around. She knows that despite that, she knows in her heart that he cares for her and she cares for him. It's just that, especially in the climax of the film, she even tells him that he needs to man up, he needs to grow up because, well, now she's pretty much the person with the ideas and he has to be very grateful for her. She's really one of those characters that's that pretty much is don't judge a book by its cover incarnate. She may appear to be an airheaded dumb blonde, but once you get to know her better, she's very smart and very cunning as well. In fact, every character in this movie is extremely cunning. The politician by the name of Carmine, yeah, Carmine, I definitely felt was another character I liked as well because what I do love about him is that he is a family man who really loves his family and definitely wants the best for his country. But poor Carmine gets dragged into this grand scheme, and I kind of feel sorry for him because what would a nice guy who has such a high position like Carmine be doing in such a scheme like this? That kind of feels sad on his part, but still, I liked him as a character because he was a very loving father and an equally loving husband, and it kind of shows that he's the total opposite of Irving. Even though Irving at times can be kind of a slob and kind of the type of person that you don't always want to have a husband. I mean, Carmine is pretty much the complete opposite, and he's extremely likable almost to a fault. But still, he's that charming of a person. Now, with Stoddard, I definitely felt like he was the only sane man of this movie. I mean, how he reacts to Richie's various outbursts is just kind of just wow. You almost feel sorry for Stoddard. I mean, putting up with Richie's outbursts and anger issues is just kind of makes me feel sorry for him. Just wow. But still, Stoddard is definitely an entertaining character because amidst all of the craziness and all of the madness that's going on in the whole business of con artists, he's definitely the type of person who says, you know what, you can do what you want, but frankly, the law will still prevail, and I'm not going to take it. And even if you don't like it, fine. He's definitely pretty much the only sane man in this movie, and I kind of felt sorry for him. I mean, who wouldn't want to feel sorry for a guy who is um, uh, witnessing all of these crazy activities happening before his very eyes? Now, with Vincent Talaggio, I felt like he was quite threatening, but not really as a villain, but he was quite threatening. And I definitely felt his presence in the film, the way he's like um, speaking to the fake sheik in the native language, Arabic, and the fake sheik doesn't understand almost a lick of it. But he manages to convince him that he can speak the language and all that. I thought that Vincent Talaggio's presence in the movie was quite menacing, but it was actually a lot of fun seeing him. The fake Sheik, oh my gosh, he is really funny as well. I mean, he's actually uh, a Mexican American man, but still, his presence in the movie was definitely funny. So, overall, the characters are very endearing, very fun to watch, and extremely engaging. And speaking about the great characters, they wouldn't exist in this film without a lot of great acting. With Christian Bale's case, it's almost no surprise that he's a human chameleon. I mean, in one year he is very skinny, and the next year he plays a very somewhat macho, sexy man, and then in this film, as I've researched, he's gained an astonishing 50 pounds to prepare for this role. Now, for me, that's actually quite astonishing, but I guess for him, it's it's not really anything new. And seeing him as Irving was definitely very fun. I mean, he was able to get all of the nuances and all of the all of those traits that make Irving this likable charmer and this cunning and clever gent, even though we're supposed to hate this con artist of a person. And sure, he was definitely adding a lot of layers to him, and I do feel for him. And he was absolutely a lot of fun to watch, and it's, as always, astonishing to see Christian Bale um, go through a lot of risks, but it kind of shows that he is that dedicated as an actor. I mean, not just in terms of, memorizing a script, but what he does. I mean, it just seems so astonishing. You almost don't recognize that it's him. I almost didn't recognize that it was Christian Bale playing this slightly overweight um, New Yorker, so to say. But still, it was definitely very fun and engaging to see Christian Bale portray Irving with all of the nuances, all of that Brooklyn rage and Brooklyn sarcasm, and it was definitely a lot of fun. Amy Adams, I definitely felt, was a very great partner to Bale's Irving. And she was absolutely amazing in the role of Sydney. She was able to make Sydney a lot more than just a pretty woman with a very pretty face. But in the moments where she doesn't wear any makeup, I could really see that she was very real, that she was very um, unveiled and in all of her natural beauty. And with Amy Adams in this role, I definitely enjoyed her presence and the way that she was able to make Sydney, well, very cunning, very intelligent, and quite independent is a lot of fun. From her shitty beginnings as Catherine Murtoy from that god awful Cruel Intentions sequel, which I don't know if I'll ever review that, but yeah, let's just say that Cruel Intentions 2 was definitely a piece of crap, and even Amy Adams couldn't save that performance. But to her um, budding up career as Princess Giselle from Enchanted, which I definitely enjoyed her in that role. She was a lot of fun. And seeing her as Sister James from Doubt and seeing her as Sydney was definitely a big leap for her. It was very, very great. It was extremely astonishing that from playing sweet women like Princess Giselle and Sister James to playing someone as cunning and smart and sexy and fun like Sydney is definitely just wow. I definitely enjoyed Amy Adams as Sydney, and she was definitely a lot of fun to watch. And it shows that her career as an actress ends up getting better and better and better. With a lot more great films that she's in, I'm sure that she'll continue to make a lot of wonderful movies. Now, with Bradley Cooper as Richie, I definitely felt that he was a great actor as well. He was able to deliver all of those sarcastic and snide comments to Sydney, played by Amy Adams, very well and with this type of bite to it. And it was definitely fun seeing him throughout the film. And the way he had these like outbursts was just kind of fun as well. Louis C.K. as Stoddard was definitely a lot of fun to see. I mean, sure, I've recognized him in his comedy show Louie, which was short lived, but still, it was a lot of fun seeing him go from this somewhat clueless man to playing the only sane man in this movie, and I definitely felt it was a lot of fun seeing Louis C.K. play the only sane man, and I definitely enjoyed his presence. Now, with Jennifer Lawrence as Rosalind, I felt like she gave a very phenomenal performance as Rosalind. Oh, sure, many people will recognize Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss from the Hunger Games franchise. Now, watching her playing an adult woman like Rosalind, as in a woman who is in her late 20s, I thought was just wow. I thought she really wowed me with her performance as Rosalind. I almost forgot that this was the same girl who played Katniss. I kind of let that sink in, and I definitely enjoyed her role nonetheless. I definitely enjoyed her portrayal nonetheless. She was able to bring out that um, Joyzy vibe into her. She was able to bring out that New Yorker vibe, Long Island vibe into this character. Sure, there are times that her accent was slipping, but I couldn't care, even though I noticed that, even though that was a bit of a nitpick. I didn't care because Jennifer Lawrence still gave a very touching, fun, and very endearing performance as Irving's wife, Rosalind. And another thing to notice about Amy Adams, I felt like she did her British accent very, very well. Now, with Jeremy Renner, I thought he was a lot of fun to watch as Carmine. I mean, we really see that he's a man who cares about his family, and even though he has this power, that doesn't make him a power hungry bastard, but it means he's earned it very well through hard work. And he does care for his family. And that's what Mr. Renner brought out in this movie. I definitely enjoyed watching him. In fact, I enjoyed watching every single actor, whether they play a major role or a minor role in this movie. I felt that they all gave great performances. Now, the music, I was pleasantly surprised to see through the credits that Danny Elfman was pretty much the one who was in charge of most of the music of this movie. In fact, of course, he's Danny Elfman. I mean, great music can come from him. Can come from him. I mean, especially from Hans Zimmer. I definitely felt that the music composed by Danny Elfman really heightened that feeling of being in the 1970s. I mean, sure, for people who lived there at that time might feel a sense of nostalgia, but for me, since I'm currently 21, going on 22, I definitely felt this type of feel of what it's like being in the 1970s while my parents were still young. And it certainly heightens up that feeling of being in the 1970s. I mean, he was able to choose his music very well from a lot of jazz tunes, blues tunes, classical tunes as well. I mean, it's a great eclectic mix of music to really heighten the fact that, okay, this is the 1970s, and it can be a lot of fun at times, and the music was a lot of fun to listen to. I mean, I'd probably go out of my way to listen to the OST in Spotify or on YouTube, or I don't know if I can even purchase the OST, but I think I'll most likely listen to it on Spotify if ever the OST does come out, and I really hope. So overall, the music is definitely fun to listen to as much as the movie was fun to watch. And it really heightened that feeling of being in the 1970s, and the choice of music was very eclectic. So overall, I definitely enjoyed this movie. It may not always be the type of movie that will make me cringe or make me like feel bothered, but it's definitely a feel good movie, even though it is chiefly a crime dramedy of a movie. But still, it's definitely a lot of fun, and I really recommend anybody who hasn't seen this movie to go ahead and watch it. I rate this film a 5 out of 5. No doubt about that. This is definitely one of the best dark comedies that I've seen in theaters, and I could easily recommend it to anybody. It's an easy recommendation, and I would probably go out of my way to see this movie. It will never leave you bored. The characters are fun, and I'm sure that you'll have a lot of fun watching this movie as well. And it's no wonder why it is such a great contender in the Oscars. I mean, imagine 7 Golden Globes that it's nominated for, and 10 Oscars that it's nominated for. But still, my heart definitely goes to 12 Years a Slave, though I know that American Hustle is for sure at really it's such a very interesting situation in the Oscars. I mean, interesting in the most exciting way possible, but still, I really expect 12 Years a Slave to win. But that doesn't mean that American Hustle is not that great compared to 12 Years a Slave. I definitely felt that these two are definitely the best films I've watched so far, and I've definitely enjoyed both of them. Let's just say that with American Hustle, it's one of those um, medicine types that definitely cured me from watching all of the harshness and brutality of 12 Years a Slave. This is definitely feel good medicine for the soul, and like I said, I highly recommend you watch it. If you've seen 12 Years a Slave, this will definitely be a good balm to keep your funny bone up. So I really recommend it. go ahead and watch it. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune into my next review, which is tomorrow, where I'll be reviewing Verdi's I Masnadieri, which is going to be my next opera review. Woohoo! Which will be shown at the Concerthaus am Gendarmenmarkt, starring Aurelia Florian and Francesco Elero d'Artagnan. Until then, this is Antoni signing off and wishing you all a good night.